All right, good evening. I'm Patrick Dean. I am the president of Seminar Systems and also Patrick Dean Coaching, and I want to welcome you to our Facebook Live tonight. Awesome. I hope my microphone is working tonight as we had that problem last week with the technology. So uh, be sure you message me if it's not working. Um, Tonight we're gonna jump into something that I think is really fun and really interesting, and you're gonna have some things to walk away with from tonight, in as I do when I examine and look at this idea that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to start here in a moment with a story. So anyway, this is kind of a kid's story, so you can get your kid on tonight and have some fun and listen to this story. So this is a story that comes from some of our old trainings that we used to do, and my mentor and trainer boss and guy that brought me up in this work. I remember sitting in a classroom and learning and in my early career, and this is a story that he told. So this is called the story of the Greek gods. And so I want you to imagine now that uh, we are on top of Mount Olympus, and you are looking at Mount Olympus, and at the top of a Mount Olympus is all the Greek gods and goddesses, and they're all there. And they're looking down at the world, and of course, on Mount Olympus, everything is perfect, and they have everything they want, and they're immortal, so they don't have to worry about death. And they're looking down there on the earth, and because everything is perfect, after a while, the gods and goddesses start to get a little bored with all this perfection. So, what they decide to do is they decide, well, let's have some fun. So, as they look down on the earth, they said, okay, let's do this. So, they created a huge storm, like a big hurricane or typhoon, and they watched it rage across the land, and that was pretty entertaining for a while for them. And then they kind of got bored with that. And then they look down and they go, okay, let's create this big thunderstorm with huge amounts of lightning. And they all got to throw lightning bolts down on the earth, and all this wind and everything, and all this chaos went on. And even that, after a while, got boring for them. And so then they tried a flood, and they tried some other stuff. And after everything, they felt like, okay, it was okay, but they got bored. And one of the goddesses had this amazing idea. And she said, I know what we'll do. What we'll do is we will make uh, uh, miniature uh, uh, reproductions of ourselves, and we'll put all of these reproductions down on the earth, all of these people. And what we'll do is we'll fill the earth with small miniature beings exactly like us. And then what we can do is watch all the drama and all the chaos that goes on down there, and we're going to be fully entertained. And they were not disappointed with all the stuff all these human beings had and done down there on the earth as they watched everything and all the drama that went on. And pretty soon, Zeus, who had been on a trip visiting his brother Poseidon in the ocean, came in and looked around at all of them, and then looked down on the earth, and he saw what they had done. And he got really angry, and he goes, look what you have done. Look what you have created down there. And all the gods and goddesses were taken aback. And they were going, well, what did we do? What's the problem? And Zeus said, you've created exact replicas of us. They have all the power and all the knowledge and all the wisdom that we have. And when they know that, they are going to not need us any longer. You've essentially put us out of business in our influence on human beings. And so they were looking for a solution to to create something different as a result of all what they had done. So one of the gods said, I'll tell you, here's what we'll do. We'll hide the knowledge of their power on the highest mountaintop. And Zeus just shook his head and said, eventually they're going to get to the highest mountain. And then one of the goddesses says, how about if we hide it at the deepest part of the sea? And Zeus said, they're going to eventually get to the deepest part. And they were all just looking at each other. And Zeus said, I have a solution for this. And guess what? I'm going to tell you Zeus's solution at the end of this podcast or the end of this Facebook Live. And you can walk away with that solution and see how it relates to us as human beings right now. But I'm going to go through an idea really quickly that I've been thinking about for a week and writing about. And originally it came from a document, and it was a document, a proposal for a class at Harvard University on why there's limits to leadership and constraint. And this document had a deeply philosophical outline to it and all this kind of stuff. But I thought some of it was so powerful, I wanted to share it with you. And this topic is called What Is and What Isn't. And I want to start this way. All of us pretty much know that over our life that we've gathered experience. And that experience comes from the events of our life. And what I've noticed in my work with people, myself and all over the world in trainings, is that the more emotional the experience was, the more that it's cemented in memory. As a matter of fact, probably most of us can go back in our life. You can look at a time that you learned to ride a bicycle, look at a time there was something going on in your family, look at a time there was something that was threatening or hard or difficult, or something that with great joy or whatever. And all that emotion is like this cement of memory. And so from all events, we string them together. And as we've talked about before, we string these events together and they become like a continuous story of our lives. And that story starts to look like our personality, who we are from all of these events that have occurred. But in actuality, what we are remembering is not the event. It's how we've interpreted the experience of that event. Now, I think what is the fact that the event occurred. You name the event in your life, you name the experience in your life. That event probably occurred. But really what remains in our memory is the experience and what we've interpreted in that event. So it isn't really what is so. What remains of events is interpretation. And that interpretation, as I said, it ends up in our personality. Now, what I think it also ends up in is the fact that we have a view of the world. And that view of the world, that worldview, has a lot to do with how we make decisions. So we make decisions about our worldview. A worldview is all of the way that we see the world. Now, one of the things, if you want an example of what I'm talking about as far as worldview goes, we do a simple exercise, and you can do it right now. And that exercise is you just simply take a piece of paper or just in your mind and take a look at the word men. And then what you want to do is string together all the words that you associate with men. And then you can do the same for women. And you can do the same for work. And you can do the same for bosses. And you can do the same for politics. And you can do the same for relationship or marriage or sex. Or in the end, words that you string together calling what I call myself, I am. And take a look at all that words connected with that. Now, what that does is it brings up some stuff that are worldview. For example, and I wrote some of them down here, I'll get in the room, in the class, I'll get a long list of what men are. both positive and negative, or what you would call positive and negative. Men are problem solvers, or men are practical, or men are dominating, or men are violent, or men are power hungry, or men are insensitive. Or on the women's side, women are sensitive, women are caring, women are emotional. But women can be very nurturing, but they can also be very critical, very dramatic. Now, you have long lists of those words, men are, women are, and go on to those other ones that I mentioned. And that, what we're really looking at there, is not how men and women are. Because we know very much that men and women are all different and have all different stuff going on. However, the idea is we have a worldview of men or women, and through that worldview of men and women, we make decisions about our relationship. See how powerful this is? It's like you make a decision about your relationship from your experience of women. All women are this way. All men are this way. All politicians are this way. All Democrats are this way. All Republicans are this way. And we start to make our individual decisions based on a world view. Essentially, what we're doing is we're making decisions on really what isn't the truth of the matter. We're making our decisions on our viewpoint, our worldview, or what we call programs or belief systems are automatically almost like a knee-jerk reaction. And we make decisions and we don't know what's driving that. So this thing about what isn't is some of the greatest suffering around, the greatest upset around, is the fact that we're trying to make a bunch of decisions by what really isn't. Now, the idea of the story and the idea of the worldview and all that is the mind's way of organizing things. We need it. It's not negative or positive. It's just a way of organization. But what I hope to do here tonight, for the short time that we have together, is look at what is and what isn't, and why it's why it's great to look at that and see the difference, so we can make more decisions on perhaps what is. So let's do what is. Right now, you're in your car and perhaps you're listening to this. Perhaps you're looking at it later on Facebook, or you're listening to me. So what is my voice, and what is, for some of you, is the picture here, and what is what you're sitting on, or what is you're breathing. What is the moment of experience, and you're having that moment right now. That's closer, at least, to what is than the long string of stories about what isn't. Now, the stories and all of it, as I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's valuable, and the experience that we gain in our life is incredibly valuable. But it can also be one of the biggest constraints in the experience of our life. In other words, making decisions all the time from our programs, belief systems, can be valuable, but oftentimes keep us from doing anything different or new. And as a matter of fact, which I'm going to talk about next, is that we have a built-in fear of change, a built-in fear of things that are different. So I want to jump in here for a moment. And what I have on the screen is what's called a change chart. And some of you have seen this many times before, but in the context of what is and what isn't, I'd like to talk to you about this. And then let's see if we can apply it in our lives and make 2020 an awesome year, because that's what we're getting around here to do. So in front of us here is something called the change chart. And on a piece of paper right there on the screen is a big block, and that block says change. Now, the reason we put the word change in there is because it seems like that change is one of the only things that you can absolutely count on in the universe. It is going to occur. So change is what is. Now, on the psychological level, on the level of who we are, there's also an emotion attached to the experience of change. And that emotion can be characterized as fear. There is a normal and natural fear of changes. Because we feel out of control, or because we don't know how to handle it as much, or because things are different, there is this experience, more or less, for all of us. More than uncomfortable, it's a deeper sense that something is happening that is different. So attached to change is fear. And then what I've attached to fear is the word choice. So what we have now is the automatic flow of the universe, which is change. We have an experience attached to it, which is often kind of this underlying experience of fear. And then what we have in front of us is a universal experience called choice, that we are at choice. So, looking at this chart in the elements of what is and what isn't, I would say that change, fear, and choice are what are. They are what is. They are a constant and an experience that occurs. Now, let's take a look at where we can go with this idea that change is occurring in our life. I want to talk about why some people are very effective in their life and create great joy and satisfaction and great results. And I want to talk about why some of us struggle. And it's all here in this chart in front of us. So let's do this very quickly and go over it. One way is we can make a turn and we can see all change as a threat. And if we see change as a threat, there's an automatic way that we handle threats. It's like I said earlier, it's almost something that we do automatically. And we'll go into this process called attack. One of the ways that we handle threat is that we attack. We can physically attack, or we can attack the person or place or event that we feel is creating the experience of change, that we go into attack. Now, attack can take the form of attacking a person because of their ideas. It can take the form of attacking people because they have a different race or a different religion or different than us in some way. We can attack institutions. We can go on the attack, and that is really pointing outside of ourselves and looking at the source of the change and the source of the problem as people or things outside of ourselves. Now, for many of us, the other way that we handle this fear and the feeling that threat is a change, that change is a threat, is that we handle through avoidance. Every one of us has a way that we avoid, has a way or many ways that we avoid. We have our favorite ways of avoidance. So when things get threatening or things get different, what do you do personally in the process of avoiding? Now, for me, I love to eat, and I'll bury myself in eating, or I'll do something like, I'll get myself really engaged in something so I don't have to make a decision. Like I'll get overwhelmed. I'll get myself into a lot of analytical stuff, or some of you read or go to the gym. Now, going to the gym or reading, is that a problem? Absolutely not. But oftentimes we will do things obsessively as a way of avoidance. That is, you can go to the gym too much. You can get involved in TV, social media. You can get involved in your computer. You can get involved in things that are often ways that we avoid making a decision to handle the change. So again, change occurs. It's what is. Fear kind of attached to it as what is. And then always the great privilege of life is choice, and we get to choose a way. And if you choose and see change as a threat, then you'll go into attack and avoid. Now, on this chart, I also have something called the 3 R's, which is a whole different lecture: resistance and resentment and revenge, and all the stuff as human beings we do because we get angry and upset because we feel out of control. And then it goes back to, finally, it goes back to the process of change. Now, this whole loop, from fear to threat to attack to avoid and back into the resistance and all of that, goes around and around and around. And all, if you don't think that's true, just look in the newspapers these days, look in how people are operating in their life, look at the fact that most people rate themselves about a 5 or a 6 on a scale of happiness, and all of it. And I think one of the reasons is because we're operating from what isn't. We're operating from this place of threat. So, what could be another choice? Well, another choice, but I think rarer, is the choice that we see change as an opportunity. Now, I know intellectually we get this, it's pretty clear. But what I'm talking about is actual emotional action and a real commitment. That's a different thing. This is understandable intellectually. But look at your life. If you want to create something powerful and different in 2020, then change is going to occur, and a way to look at it might be to see it as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to do something different, an opportunity to take some risks, an opportunity to get out there and up your game and up your level of commitment. And when you're in opportunity as a way of being, you get excited. You get an excitement. Is if you see things as an opportunity, if you see things as a threat, of course, it's going to be very difficult, excuse me, to get excited. But if you see things as an opportunity, wow, I mean, you can jump into it a little bit. And it's not about a Mary Poppins kind of positive thinking. This is a much deeper experience I'm talking about here. An actual shift in how you see change occurring into your life. Imagine that, if we could actually do that as a habit and as a process. So getting excited leads to creativity, and creativity and excitement are kind of tied together in a major way. You've noticed that in your life when you get excited about something and when you got to solve a problem, oftentimes that just gets the creative juices going. And so then what happens is you get into solution. Now, what's the constant? Always, 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 always. Change is going to happen. It's just part of the process. One side of change is threat. That's sort of a maintenance and a reaction. And being proactive is shifting how you see things into the experience of an opportunity. So, what is change. What isn't is the fact that you're stuck in doing things a certain way all the time. So, let's think about this one, and I want to work with you and start to end up here with a visualization, okay? So, if you're driving and listening to this, don't close your eyes. Stay driving. If you are sitting listening to this, just for a moment, maybe a minute, I'd like you to close your eyes and just take a deep breath. And I want to walk you through our visualization for 2020. Now imagine it's the end of 2020, exactly 1 year from today. Imagine that you're living your ideal life. You are so grateful for what you've accomplished this past year. You have created your ideal business, your ideal career, your ideal connection with the people closest to you, an experience of great health. You're making a great income and doing something with your love, really, doing something that you love. And you have, as I've said, great health, meaningful relationships, Imagine now in 2020 that you have time freedom to do what you want. Now, things are flowing in your life better than they've ever flowed before. And in this moment, you feel truly amazing. In this moment, you feel that end result is living in your heart right now. Take a deep breath and take it in. Because the start of anything great is imagining that end result. Being unreasonable and seeing and feeling that great commitment and all that you've accomplished. Now, the question is, what have you changed in your life to make it happen? Who are you? What have you changed in your being in the year? What is the great, great quality you want to bring out in yourself this year? Is it courage? Is it excitement? Is it honesty and authenticity? Is it joy? Is it creativity? Just reach down in the dozens of more things that you want to have experienced, and in the forefront of your belief about yourself, and in the fact of coaching or working with or being with other people and bringing out their greatness. Who do you need to be to have that happen? And how did you overcome the fear and doubt that's present in all of us when we start imagining this change in our life? How did you overcome it? Now, these things are all possible from my point of view. If you get on to the fact of what is, and you start operating as change, as choice, what is. Now, a question that I have for you. I want to do a little bit of. I want to give you an opportunity here, and this opportunity, I'm going to talk about for a moment, and then what I'm going to do is finish up the story of the Greek gods. But the opportunity here, there's two opportunities I wanted to offer you tonight. The question for many of us is, all of that feeling for 2020, can you do that alone? And the answer for most of us is not really. And so I want to offer you my service to help you identify your purpose, okay? To find out what our state of being is, what your state of being is, that will create results for you. And finally, some actions in your life that will create those results sooner than you ever thought possible. I know a lot of successful people, and every single person that I know that's successful has a coach. Choose me, choose someone else. All you have to do here, by the way, is just get a hold of me by messaging me and saying, Patrick, I'm interested in talking. There's no charge for that. I just love talking with people about what's important to you. And that private conversation can be one of the great conversations you have to start your year. So I'm putting that out for you. Just connect with me. We'll have a time. We'll do a private talk, and we can talk about what's important to you. I can also talk about a great coaching program that I offer and see if it's valuable for you. So there's offer number one. Offer number two, this is for the men that are listening to this. I'm forming samurai men's groups, and they're very small groups. And I have one of these groups that is going to start very soon. And I only have room for 2 more men. I'm looking for 2 men. I'm looking for 2 men who want to be supported by other samurai, other men who have been through these trainings that we talk about, are interested in personal development and interested in excelling and interested in creating something different and more than we've created before. And I think that if we get together, I'm a player coach in these. You're going to be with me and know about my life and know what's going on because I'm in there with you, and we are going to support each other in greatness. And this is one of the few places that I know where small groups of men are going to get together. It's not a training. It's a group. It's not a goal-setting group. It's a group of men supporting each other. Although we get our goals, we talk about that. That's not the purpose. The purpose is the greatness. What do we need? What can we develop? And so that's a discussion, and we meet twice a month. So if you're interested in that, just message me, okay? And say, Patrick, I'm interested in the men's group. That'd be awesome. All right. So those are the 2 offers. All right. So the end of the story. Zeus says, I know where we can hide the knowledge of their greatness and of their power. And he said, we will hide it in their heart. We will hide it in their heart because they are such doers that they will never look there. They will get to the highest mountain. They will cross the greatest deserts, and they will get to the depth of the ocean. But it will be the last place they ever look is in their heart. Because once they know they have everything it takes to make life an incredible adventure, they will access that. And so my mission and what I'm doing for me is looking in my heart and bringing out those qualities every time I can. And in you, and your mission is to go out there and start helping people realize how incredible and great they are. Thank you so much for watching tonight, and we will see you in the next Facebook Live. Have an amazing rest of the week, and go out there and make the difference you were born to make. I love you all. Bye-bye.